Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you what our digital library packs look like. We currently have three different digital library packs, one for secondary students, one for elementary students, and another for primary students. So the primary digital library pack is filled with little readers that are very, very easy to read. We also have all of these readers in hard copy, but this is a really nice option for students of any age. As you can see, the stories for the little ones are very, very short with very short sentences, and all of our readers have pictures and illustrations to demonstrate what the different vocabulary is from each page. And so these contain vocabulary, these particular books contain vocabulary directly from the story that relates to this particular reader. For example, this is from the kit La Poule Ma Boule. But even though students may not have done La Poule Ma Boule, of course they can read this as well. So we have a variety of different little readers for the young students that relate to the stories that are familiar from the kits. We have La Poule Ma Boule, Le Petit Chat cherche une famille, as well. We also have Où est mon chien? This is Minuit, a little series of Minuit livres from Où est mon chien, the third step kit. And here is Le Petit Chat cherche une famille, the readers based on that. Of course, it's not the repetition of the story itself. Now, some of the readers like these ones down here that are very, very simple, and they're leveled. So they have levels. We have levels 1, 2, and 3. So here we have 2 sentences per page on this level 2 reader. And then we have level 1 readers, which are much simpler and just have the one sentence that I just showed you before. And then we have other readers. And these are readers for students to read themselves with very simple vocabulary directly from the stories that are very familiar to them. So these have longer sentences. And there are books, these ones here, for example, that some primary students, of course, could read if they're in grade 1 or 2. These are simple. But for the kindergarten students, you might want to read these to your students. And then we have some other more challenging ones that are even more appropriate to be read by the teacher to the students, such as La Poule Ma Boule et Le Gros Bruit. Again, later primary students, late grade 1, grade 2, certainly grade 3, could read these stories. So this is what the primary readers look like, and we have a fairly nice variety of them here. Now, what you might be wondering is, what else does this book do? Well, of course, as I was showing earlier, you can turn the pages, the students can read, pause, look at the images, and read the story themselves. But we do have the option to click here at the bottom left corner, and the story will be read out loud.
Minuit le chien. Wendy Maxwell. Minuit est un petit chien noir. Il a une maman, 3 frères et 2 sœurs.
So it helps the students follow along with the text, this highlighted text here. And students can stop and pause as they wish. You could go up here, and if you want it to be read more slowly, you could click on, for example, 75%.
Il habite avec sa famille sous un grand arbre.
And you can have it read very slowly at 50%.
Dans le parc. Un jour, Minuit voit une petite souris.
So those are the options that you have there. And how about 125%?
Qui court dans le parc. Il veut dire bonjour à la souris.
So slightly faster than the original was recorded. All right, so those are the samples of the primary digital library pack. Now I'll move on to the elementary. The elementary also has some stories that relate to the plays that students are familiar with. Après la maison de briques, they're usually story extensions like this. So, qu'est-ce qui se passe après après la maison de briques, après que le loup, after the wolf goes out of la maison du troisième petit cochon. So he goes out, and what happens next? Our book publishing contest is something that we hold each year, and we really encourage teachers to have their students, when they write their story extensions, to aim, pardon the pun, to have send in entries to our book student publishing contest. And you can have a mini contest within your school or even within a single classroom and select the top 2 or 3 to send in. So these are a couple of them here. Après l'arbre en galie, j'ai soif, et les trois petites chattes et le grand méchant chien, which is sort of a version of course, les trois petits cochons. Not really a story extension, but we accepted that one because it was very creative. So with these books, you can do all kinds of different things. But before I show you that, I'm going to move on to the secondary library pack, which is a series of books laid out in the same way, but books and stories that are much more appropriate for the older student, say grade 8 and above. We have themes like historical themes, Etienne Brûlé. We have environmental themes like Ce Monde. We have social themes such as Je m'appelle Christian, from a student from Haiti, and Une histoire d'espoir en Haïti. Again, the same, Je n'aime pas les jeux, based on les Olympiques. Traveling and mishaps during travels. Also readers from First Nations stories, and all kinds of different topics. Nuit Blanche is one by Jacqueline Kelly, who's one of our more prolific writers. She wrote about a young family that had to be evicted and live in a little tent city for a little while due to their impoverished situation. So this is what we have for the older students. Now let's go back to the digital library pack and just for elementary students and just have a little look here. So you can see we have different themes such as Halloween and also other fantastical stories, First Nations stories written by First Nations artist and author and others as well, fairy tales that are well known. So in these stories, so let's take Le Prince Grenouille, for example. Again, same thing. It can be read out loud to the students.
Le Prince Grenouille. Histoire traditionnelle adaptée par Wendy Maxwell. Voici l'histoire du Prince Grenouille. Un jour, une princesse qui s'appelle Émilie joue avec sa balle à côté de son château.
All right, so what can we do with these books? Well, when we're working with the whole class and we're presenting these on the whiteboard, you may, I would recommend that you read it with your students, that you not have the audio running for the students to listen to. This is something for the students to do at home. You are provided with the student logins so they can do that activity at home. It's very important in class to be interacting with your students, using it to manipulate the language as you're moving through the story, rather than just very receptively being read to during class. So you're reading with your students, you're pausing, you're asking questions. You could say, est-ce que la princesse s'appelle Émilie ou Janine, for example? Est-ce qu'elle joue avec sa balle à côté de son château ou de son appartement, for example? And any type of question at all. De quelle couleur sont les cheveux d'Émilie? Qu'est-ce qu'Émilie porte sur la tête? Anything at all that will really draw the vocabulary out and comprehension out on the part of the students. So you don't just have to use the story, though, for pausing and asking questions. There are all kinds of different AIM games and activities you can apply to these digital library packs. So, for example, let's move along and have a look at this page here, page 10. So you might have the students say, play the game Qu'est-ce que tu vois, where the students have to shout out all kinds of things that they see in the image. You can also play the game Décris l'image. You can also play the game Décris l'image et fais un dessin. These all are introduced in the steps 2 and 3 kits. You can also play the game Histoire partagée. And you could also, of course, do an activity that is so familiar to the students, which is story retelling and story extension. So you're taking a story like, let's see, and for older students, this is even more appropriate. Let's say you're doing the story En Vacances, and they read through the story all about this young girl who goes to Martinique with her friend, and she bumps into this guy and doesn't like him too much. She thinks he's very rude, and they end up saying goodbye and disliking each other, and end up meeting each other later on, and with all kinds of different mishaps. So it's a fairly long story. It's more appropriate for the secondary student or the immersion student in grade 5 and up. So what you could do is have the students do a retelling. They could do an oral retelling with a partner, back and forth as we do in our AIM kits, in every kit, even starting in step 1. They could do a written retelling in their own words. They could probably write one up to 10 pages long. This is a pretty long story. And they could do a story extension, because some of these stories, like this one, end up at an unresolved point where finally Pierre and Marie end up liking each other, and qu'est-ce qui se passe après? Well, they can write a story extension. So there are all kinds of things that you can do with these readers that will really bring them alive and maintain that AIM philosophy for the implementation of everything you do in your classroom with your students. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you very much for listening.